All right, writers, this is the lead I pulled from Hayden's Writer's Notebook. It's a story about a fox. It's realistic fiction about a fox who loses their forest and goes through some crazy adventures to finally find a new home. So I'm going to read this to you, and after we're done reading it, I want you to turn and talk about what did Hayden do well in his lead? What were some of the strategies or things that he did that were similar to Chris Van Allsburg's Polar Express and Eric Carle's Quiet Cricket? Once there was a fox who loved his home, until one fateful night a man left a fire in his fire pit. The fire popped like popcorn, and then a tiny little spark fell on the ground, spreading into a huge fire. The man woke up to the smell of smoke. He got out the tent as quickly as the bunny. Got out of the tent as quickly as a bunny. The forest was in flames. He called 911, but they were already there. Meanwhile, the fox was startled to the smell of smoke. He went outside his den and saw his home surrounded by colossal flames. He bolted out and ran as far as he could from the forest to the top of the highest hill he knows of. The top of the forest was gone. He was devastated and melancholy, and walked away into the dreadful night. His forest was gone. So turn and talk now, and I want you to think of what has Hayden done that has effectively led you into this story. Think of some of the words that Hayden has used or some of the details in his story that will help set the stage for you as the reader. Go ahead and do that now. All right, so you're probably back now, and I heard a lot of interesting things. Let's take a look here. First of all, back when we talked about the Polar Express, they talked about the big plot device or event that's leading this into the rest of the story, which was that little boy telling our character there is no such thing as Santa Claus. And we all know, if you know the story, is that he goes on the Polar Express and he discovers the spirit of Christmas and Santa Claus. Well, in this story, Hayden did something similar, and I think some of you have noticed it, was that his event was this man letting a fire in the fire pit and it popping and causing a huge fire, and then the fox being startled, and then he went to the top of the highest hill he knows of and saw that his forest was destroyed, and then that picks up where the story has now begun, as Hayden writes more into it in his story that he'll hopefully share with you guys. Some other things that Hayden did, I thought, though, were through his characters, he described the setting. He didn't just say, once upon a time there was a forest, the forest caught on fire, the fox ran away. He used his characters to help you learn the setting. And look at some examples of this. The faithful man left a fire in his fire pit. I immediately see that fire in that campsite. It popped like popcorn, and its tiny little spark fell to the ground, spreading into a huge fire. Some other examples of here were when the fox was startled to the smell of smoke. He went out of his den and was surrounded by colossal flames. He bolted out and ran as fast as he could away from the forest top to the highest hill he knows of. And the top of the forest was gone. He was devastated and melancholy as he walked into the dreadful night. And there you can see it's night. So I could just imagine how the fox had climbed up to the hill and overlooked this forest devastated, and how sad he was. Hayden's is an example of a great lead, and I hope that you think about some of these strategies to help you revise your leads. And I think Hayden could even use a little bit of revision himself, because we're not always done writing. So things I want you to remember right now about our leads, are some strategies, are sometimes stories begin not with a big action, but a small action. And that action becomes the setting. So sometimes stories begin with an action, not a small action, and this action is the setting. In that case, the action was the man lighting the fire in Hayden's story and causing a forest fire, which described the bigger problem and setting that we were in. Sometimes stories create a mood and a place. And mood and place, we talk about mood and tone in poetry. Mood and place is really thinking about how those characters make you feel, how they feel, and what is there that's happening that causes them to feel that way. Like in the example of the very quiet cricket, I thought the example there was really poignant of mood and tone, as he really wanted to chirp and say hi to his newly learned, larger cricket who he looks up to, and he tried and tried and he tried, nothing happened. The mood was somber or sad. Sometimes the time and place is revealed slowly. And bit by bit, I cannot type today, the character moves into the setting. In Hayden's case, maybe not. In this lead, it was more of we're seeing a small action kind of describe the setting and the problem. And Quiet Cricket, that really didn't evolve. We kind of right away knew we were in, the wilderness with a cricket. It was the mood and place that was described through that lead. We felt sad. Those words made us feel for the cricket. However, in Polar Express, if you're familiar with the story, bit by bit, that character now moves into the setting of the North Pole. And that exposition, that lead, set the plot device of the train to help him do that. So using these three things, I would like you today to revise your lead. So think about how you can make your story more immersed and be that Pied Piper who leads us to the rest of the plot. Good luck, writers.